Said that if that Hunter Biden laptop story
have any arguments against that right now, and I want to see how it goes. Check out Black Conservative Perspective because Black Conservative Perspective is a bad mofo. He's a cool cat. He's one of the coolest cats in the land. And I want to see what he's talking about. He's doing the story on Breakfast Club and Larry Elder show. Well, Larry Elder is on the Breakfast Club. Okay. Like this video and share this video. That would be amazing. And please make sure you go to the original link if you want to see my man Black Conservative Perspective do his thing. All I'm doing is adding my own colorful commentary and my own knowledge, because clearly I got a whole lot up here. Maybe not. Okay, here we go.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Eld?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No, there
racism?
used to be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh, man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
But at the top of mind, I'd probably maybe say mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration.
Like man who is a father to his children, and I'm
Right.
a happily married
Right.
black man to a black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part, you know. But I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this.
Oh, you just feel like, huh? He asked you about systemic racism. Give me an example of systemic racism today. Oh, there's a whole lot of them. They just falling out of the sky. They falling out of the sky. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But let me just name mass incarceration. Oh, bro, you just gonna shut it down like that? That was smooth. Let's just move on. Let's just move on, because I ain't got no more. I need more reasons to be able to put us in the victim column so that we can have things to complain about, because we know that if we have things to complain about, then we're angry, and anger is profitable. I don't have anything else. I thought there was a whole plethora of things to choose from. All these choices of systemic racism.
And black people do that. And when I asked you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking about the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about this fascinating interview that I stumbled across between Larry Elder and the Breakfast Club. And you guys already know what's coming, right? You know how the Breakfast Club treats GOP candidates when they come on the platform to talk about issues such as race, okay? They want to play the boo-hoo, black people are victims, what about the white man card, right? That's what they do in this interview here with Larry Elder, who's clearly going to talk about the biggest problem in America, and by extension, black America as well too, right, which is fatherlessness. Okay.
And before Greg keep on going, much love to this young man who is doing an amazing job on his platform. Y'all make sure y'all go follow him if you aren't already. I'm sure a lot of you are. But I just wanted to say this. Charlamagne the God said, so tell me, what do white people do wrong? Because it seems to me like you're always pointing out what the black person does wrong. You know who they'll never ask that question to if they had an opportunity? They'll never ask Malcolm X that. Every single time you hear Malcolm X talking about the country, he's talking about black folk and what black people need to do to get things right. He may mention white America from time to time, all right? But you talking about holding black people accountable, making sure that they understood their role in the bull sugar honey iced tea that's going on in the country. He did it often, and nobody would check him about it. Let's just go and continue.
Okay, fatherless homes is the biggest problem in this country, and I tend to agree with him, and he's going to list out facts about what's happening in black America, and that's going to trigger the Breakfast Club, because again, they can't stand to have a conversation about the problems with black people in black America without somehow, some way trying to rope the white man into it and blame the white man for all of black people's problems in this country. So without further ado, let's get it.
So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You said MAGA.
MAGA.
Okay.
And the answer is, I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all. For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not but of fatherlessness. 70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail.
Wow.
What's happened? In the mid-60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. You know, when I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male.
Yep. What happened to Black Lives Matter? Oh, we don't want to talk about that.
Same demo for whites. The number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64.
And black people don't like to hear that either. He's saying when there was blatant racism, all right? Because people out there will claim that, no, there's blatant racism now. I tried to go to the restaurant the other day and they said I couldn't come in because I had on shorts. But when I looked through the window, I saw a white man in there with shorts. It's because I'm black. They being racist. We need to go on social media, tell everybody not to eat here because they hate black people.
KKK was still alive and well. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy.
Facts.
Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's because in the mid-60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. In Charlemagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this, advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia. A young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home, married to the mother, than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong?
Bruh, can you at least acknowledge what he just now said? Because he put out a ton of great information, but what he's stuck on is, bruh, you're not saying anything bad about white people. Can we talk bad about white people for a moment? That's just crazy.
This guy's Charlemagne the God is a clown, right? Imagine listening to all those facts and statistics that was thrown out there by Larry Elder to support his thesis that fatherlessness is the biggest problem in this country.
And your
right?
comeback
and he clearly outlines how this has not only had a negative effect on black people, but also on white people as well, too. However, we're not seeing this issue be as bad as it is among white people as it is with black people in regards to the effects of it. Okay, he outlines why this is the issue and what were the causes of it. Okay, nothing but facts. And the first thing that Charlemagne the God can think about in regards to a follow-up question, or the second thing, is what did white people do wrong? Right? What did white people do wrong?
Because he felt like he was being picked on. Like you keep on picking on us with all these facts and all these numbers and all these dates and all these, all these truths. Why you keep on attacking us, brother? What about the white man? Oh, come on. We black. Come on. Look at the back of our hands. We black. Can we talk bad about them just for a moment? I hear all of your facts, bro, but I feel like you're attacking us. It's crazy, man.
What did white man do?
What did white man do?
This is what I'm talking about right here. This is the real slave mentality right here, right? You don't have the ability to reflect on anything in regards to the problems in black America without trying to blame the white man. Somewhere, somehow, the white man is the problem, and you gotta talk about how, well, the white man had something to do with it. Right? Again, it's funny how that works.
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No, there
racism?
used to be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most
so
important
many.
one you think.
At the top of mind, I probably maybe mass incarceration.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family. There's a direct.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a black man who is a father to his children, and I'm a happily married black man to a black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part, you know. But I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and black people do that. And when I ask you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking.
Again, it's just so hilarious how, because they got to pander to a certain audience, right? You can't come up here and have a conversation where you're talking about black issues and you're simply just trying to hold other black people accountable without bringing a white man into the mix. Which again is funny because, you know, these people are supposed to be all about black, right? Everything with them is black, right? Everything about these people is black, except when it comes to talking about holding black people responsible for the problems in the black community. All of a sudden, it's not about black anymore. It's about white.
That is a great point, bruh. That is a phenomenal point. Y'all whole business is catering to the black, cause I'm black, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, and I'm black with the black hand, and I'm black with the black man, and I'm black with a black woman, and the black kids, and the black this, and the black that. But when we talking about accountability, no. We don't want to talk about black people. We want to talk about black people. No more black people. Let's talk about the white people. Let's talk about the white man, all right? How did he hurt us, all right? How did he put us in the spot we're in? All right, we talking about mass incarceration. They locked my brother up for murder. He ain't do it. He did it. They gave him 20 years, but they gave the white man 10 years. Why they keep him 20 years? Because he's black, that's why. All right, because he's black. And why he killed somebody? Because he's upset. Why is he upset? Because of 1619. That's why he's upset. We're all upset because of 1619.
The white man is what you got to talk about, okay? Which is it's hilarious because I think that Larry Elder had a great response. He's like, look, I'm not worried about the white man, right? I'm not worried about the white man. I'm worried about black folks.
And the fact that you are worried about the white man says a lot about you.
Which, again, that to me, in my opinion, I think the most effective thing that black people can do is stop worrying about white people and to worry about black people. And this is what these people typically advocate for. When they're out here talking about black empowerment, black this, black that, right? Basically pushing for segregation, they're all on board with, hey, let's just worry about ourselves, right? It's just us. We don't need to worry about the white man, except when it comes to talking about the issues and the problems and who's the cause of the problems. Now, all of a sudden, it ain't all about just us anymore. Hey, we need to start blaming the white man, right? It's the white man's fault. It's amazing. This guy, Charlemagne the God, he's so caught up in his race narrative.
About the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was a black. And I think most of those who were doing this were black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago, places like New York. If I were involved in something like that, Charlemagne, I grew up with a dad, just as you're raising your own children, I would have been more afraid of my father than I would about the cops catching me.
Facts. That was a big reason why I didn't get involved in, the heavy crimes. I got involved in the little petty crimes because I didn't want my big brother, like my guardian. I was already afraid of her, you know what I mean? But that still didn't stop me from being a knucklehead. But my big brother, shit.
These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short. And as a result, you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone re-elected a black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, LA. They all have black mayors.
And they're what? Shitholes.
Boom.
Right. Again, I pointed this out the other day in my video. It's like all of these places where you're seeing this crime, this chaos, this destruction, they're run by black people, right? Black people are running the cities, and these cities also have a large black population.
DC. Hello, somebody. Shout out to the DMV. I love the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but come on, bro.
But and look at the result. Again, the woke revolutionaries are getting what they want. They're getting their black leadership, right? They're getting their black representation. But it seems to me, the more of that you get, the worse things become. And I'm not saying it's because they're black, it's because they're liberal, right? That's the real issue. Bro. But in regards to the problems in the black community, a vast majority of the problems are self-inflicted, okay? Now, if you want to blame the white man, which they're going to get to this in a minute, yeah, you can blame the liberal white man, right? And the liberal white man's policies, okay, if you really want to place some blame on the white man, but a vast majority of the issues are self-inflicted. When you see these murders, a vast majority of murders against black people committed against black people. I mean, a vast majority of murders, period, are committed by black people. But I'm just saying, crimes, the suffering that is going on in black community, it is self-inflicted. But that's an issue that these people severely just don't want to talk about. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to address it. And this is why a lot of these people look like fools when they come out here and they want to blame the white man and talk about systemic racism, when everybody can see with their own two eyes that, well, most of the people that's committing crimes against black folks that's hurting black people are black, right? A lot of these cities are being ran by black people. What are you talking about? How can you blame the white man when a vast majority of these cities, you can name anyone, Baltimore, Atlanta, New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, these places are being ran by black folks, right? They're being ran by black people. Memphis. So it's laughable. You get laughed at behind closed doors when you come out here and you want to talk about what a white man is, the white man that. When everybody can see with their own two eyes that a vast majority of the issues are self-inflicted.
The worst part of this whole thing is, since we're not holding one another accountable in these areas, a lot of these places are becoming food deserts. Yeah, a lot of these places are becoming food deserts because nobody's being held accountable. When you have individuals who are going to the Walmarts and the grocery stores and just stealing and just taking things all the time. These people, these companies, they look at their bottom line and they realize, we are losing more than we're gaining in this location. And they are closing down. They are closing down their Walmarts. They are closing down their Targets. They are closing down their supermarkets and their grocery stores. So what's going to happen there? It becomes a food desert. That's all because nobody's being held accountable. We're always trying to blame someone else. There's not enough money. There's not enough resources in this area. Well, there's money and there's resources and there's stores. There's everything you want and need in these areas. Well, so much bad has happened to this store, they're leaving. So much bad has happened to this grocery store, they're leaving. Jobs are leaving when the companies leave. When these businesses leave, potential jobs are leaving. Food, everything they need, all their necessities, gone. Then they just move on to the next store. Start stealing out of that. What do you think that business is going to do? They're going to stop rebuilding in that area. But guess what? When they go back to rebuild those neighborhoods, it's going to take some money to rebuild those neighborhoods. And the people that come into those neighborhoods to rebuild and they're putting money back in there, obviously they're going to raise their prices for anybody to be able to move back in those areas. So now we're talking about gentrification. Now we're mad that the white people are moving into our neighborhoods and they done jacked up the prices and we can no longer afford to live here. They're moving us out. They. We're blaming everybody else but ourselves. And at the end of the day, they're the ones being hurt. We need to look at ourselves. That's it. We need to look at ourselves and the people that are running these cities. Bruh, we need to make sure that our people are where they need to be and taking care of one another. But we're always blaming other people. We don't have this because of them. We don't have this because of them.